And we continue with part 2, creating your background in this signed and committed project. This is the third installment in this instructional video series. We have provided an introduction, and you can look that up to get some background on our project here. We've also provided part number 1, configuring or creating your canvas. Now we're moving on to part number 2, creating your background. If you'd like more information on the background of this, feel free to go back and rewatch the first installment, the introduction. Of course, we are creating this. This is our goal, to create a poster that looks like this, with the with the intention of trying to copy this. This was the motivation behind this project. I got my hands on this poster of Jake Wiley, a graduate of Newport High School, who is a professional basketball player now. He was an unsigned free agent, played in the NBA for a brief period of time, was injured, now playing in Europe. And Eastern Washington University created this poster as a celebratory act to highlight Jake Wiley and his accomplishments, going from Eastern Washington as an All-American, All-Conference player, and moving on and being signed into the NBA. Well, we wanted to kind of do the same thing with our athletes here at Newport High School, and we're going to do that starting with Koa Poncho. So up to this point, we've introduced this concept, this project. We have configured our canvas in Photoshop. There's the completed project, what it will eventually look like, or close to looking like. And this is what we've done so far. We have configured or created our canvas. That's it. 17 wide, 11 tall, resolution of 500, and we've given it the name Signed and Committed Poster. So that's where we're at right now, and our next step is to create the background. I'm going to go back some steps here. I'm going to get rid of here on our example project, I'm going to get rid of a number of upper layers to get down to the point where all that you will see is our background. This is what we're attempting to accomplish in this installment, part 2, creating your background. We will create a base solid layer. We will then create a gradient going from a charcoal color to white. We will incorporate some smoke looking wisps, and then we will also incorporate a football background. So we start here with our blank canvas that we created in part number 1, configuring or creating your canvas. Let's start with, just to be safe, let's create some additional layers just in case we mess up and we want to go back and start from scratch. So I'll throw in a couple layers. There will be some more here in just a moment. But let's start with layer number 2 and make that the only one that is visible. And to create a solid base layer, and we're just going to make it white. This is rather simple. I'm going to choose that layer, make sure it's visible, come over here and select my, where'd you go here? I want my paint bucket tool. It's hiding underneath my gradient tool, so I'm going to right click my gradient tool, choose my paint bucket tool. Now my foreground color is already white, but I'm just going to confirm that, white, and then I click on my canvas. And there we go. That layer is now a solid white color. Let's move on now. We've accomplished step number 1, establishing a solid white base color. I'm going to throw in an extra layer just for the heck of it. It never hurts to have more layers than what's necessary, just in case you do need to go backwards and start. So you don't have to start your whole project over. If you mess up, you can go back and start at the previous step, wherever that was. If you have multiple layers, you can just delete a layer and go back to a duplicate layer at the beginning of that last step. And that's what we're going to do right here. So we have a couple layers, and in this layer, we want to incorporate a gradient on this layer, which is layer number 4. We know that the gradient tool is hiding underneath now our paint bucket tool. We already have a foreground established as white. Our gradient settings up here, you can mess with them if you like, but we are going to start, and it shows up here, our gradient is going to start black and go to white according to what we have established. If I double click on that, it'll bring up the gradient editor, and it shows that we have a gradient type of solid, smoothness 100%, going from black to white. I'm okay with that. Simply now, with your gradient tool, start at the bottom of your canvas, click, and go to the top part, let go, and bam, there's your gradient. Black to white. It is bottom to top. Now, if we go back and take a look at our Jake Wiley poster, this is the portion of the poster where we are trying to imitate. Notice in the background here, it is charcoal going to a white gradient at the top. It's not a complete dark black. That's what we have as a complete dark black. In order to change that to more of a charcoal, all that we simply have to do is go to that layer and adjust the opacity. Right now it's at 100, and if I adjust it down to 80, maybe 81%, with that white base layer, the slight reduced opacity of layer 4 on top of a solid white base layer gives us the color effect that we're looking for here. So instead of a solid black, it's more of a charcoal color, and it moves upwards towards a white. So step 2 is now done. We have established our solid white, and we've established a gradient as well. We're halfway there to establishing our background. Now, the next step, just to be safe here, I'm going to duplicate that layer, copy a layer number 4, and I am going to be inserting some wispy smoke type of things. And in order to do that, I'm going to use my brush tool, and up above in my brush editor, it will give me options of what to do. I can have a hard round pressure size. I can have a point that is stiff. I can have a fan style tip. And as I'm looking through my options here, I see a leaf, I see a star. I don't see smoke available. So I do know that on a previous occasion I downloaded smoke brushes, and you can get free smoke brushes online. Just Google free smoke brushes, and you'll have the ability to download from a variety of different sites. I've done that already, and but they do not appear here in my brush editor. In order to incorporate or install those, I will click this little button here. And in some versions of Photoshop, instead of it being like a play symbol, it is a different type of symbol. But click on that, go down to Load Brushes after you have actually downloaded some brushes, and go find wherever it is where those brushes are that you downloaded. Now I've downloaded 3 of them. I've got 20 smoke brushes with the with an ABR suffix, free smoke Photoshop brushes 8, and smoke brush promo. So I'm going to click on that one, click open, and bam, there's 20 new brushes. I also downloaded another brush, free smoke brushes, 8 of them. I'm going to click open there. Well, that one says it's not compatible, so let me try the third one that I downloaded, Smoke Brush Promo. I'm going to open that, and it's over there someplace as well. So I have a number of smoke brushes available to me, and I'm going to click that last one to begin with. And as I bring that into my project, notice that the brush is no longer a... Just a moment, I'll be right back. Okay, so I'll try to pick up where I left off there. Got interrupted. A visitor came in, so I believe I was in the process of showing you how to use your brush tool to incorporate smoke wispies. So in the brush options thingamajigger doohickey, I've just chosen one of the brushes that I uploaded just moments ago. And I'm going to come over here to my canvas, and I'm going to incorporate some of those. And it's not overly necessary to get too concerned about where they're placed and so on and so forth at this point, because later on there are going to be so many other layers and elements that the smoke won't be the focal point of this whole thing. So I use that brush a couple or 3 times, maybe too much, maybe not enough, I don't know. But it's not overly critical and concerning at this point. So here's some other smoky, wispy things that we're going to incorporate. Okay, and maybe, I don't know, like I say, I might be going overboard here. But there will be other things incorporated here that will allow these little wisps of smoke to be fine the way they are. So that'll do. I'm not going to lose too much sleep and put too much effort into placing smoke. Just for the heck of it, I'm going to go back to Jake's and see there's some wispy stuff there and there and there, and some of it's going to be hidden behind Jake and some of it's hidden behind signed. And in our project, let me put Jake off to the side. Over here with Koa, I'd randomly put some stuff, and Koa's in front of some of the wispies, and the committed is in front of others. And so from what I've got at the moment, we'll just hope and consider that to be adequate. If we absolutely wanted to, later on we could go back and adjust it. But for now, that's going to be enough. So with that being said, this part of our project, we have done the following things. We have created a solid background in white. On top of that, we have incorporated a gradient effect along with the smoke wispies. The last thing to do to establish our background is to incorporate here we go, an image in the background of a football field. And the way that we're going to do that, let me see. I should have on my desktop a image in a folder of a football field. What do I do that? Oh, there it is, right there. So let me see here. Simply, I can just take that image that I downloaded, and you've downloaded things before, save it to your desktop or save it to a folder in your desktop. And this is something that you've done, so I don't need to go through that process. And I'm going to incorporate that image into my project. So at the beginning of this attempt, notice that the image is not exactly the right size. So I will start with it there. I will hold down on the Shift button, grab the corner of it, and I will attempt to make modifications thusly. Now going back to my original example, I've got like the 30-yard line behind there and the 20 over there. Let's see what I did. I want to try to replicate that. So it doesn't have to be absolutely perfect, but there we have the essence of a field in the background. I know it looks grainy right now, but as soon as I hit the check mark saying yes, that's what I want, it will clear it up. And there we have a football field. Now you're asking yourself, well, I can't see anything else now. Let me rasterize that layer, change the opacity, and notice what happens. I can even adjust that layer to be underneath that gradient layer that we created, and suddenly you just ever so slightly see the essence of a football field behind the smoky wispies and within the gradient. And to this point, we have created an acceptable background. So, in review, what we've done here, we started with a canvas that was 17 inches wide by 11 tall. We incorporated a layer, creating a solid white background. We then incorporated a gradient and adjusted it so that it is more of a charcoal, not a black color, up to a white, incorporating wispy, smoky looking things. And we inserted and incorporated a transparent football field in the background. And the reason why we did that instead of a basketball court, which in Jake Wiley's photo, if you look really carefully at Jake Wiley's poster, there are grains of wood which simulate a basketball court. Now, Jake's a basketball player, and so they put a basketball court kind of essence in the background, whereas with Koa is going to Whitworth University to play football, so we are putting a football field in the background. That is what we've done, and we are done with part number 2, creating our background. We will now move on to part number 3.